I open up, you know what, let me open up an example run real quick. Let's just say, let me give you an example of an air fuel.
Don't a lot of guys say smoothing, I mean you hurt yourself though?
Yes, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, explain that. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about RPMs and smoothing real quick. Absolutely, under any circumstances, I do not want you to smooth any RPMs. Here's what's going to happen. Here is true engine speed right now. Okay? It shifted the car at 73.39 approximately. I'm just throwing the cursor on it. Now if I right click this guy and I smooth this guy all the way over and I hit OK, it totally moves the point. It takes the highs and the lows and it creates that average. That's how.
Which ones do you suggest smoothing then?
Okay, so the only one I'm ever going to suggest for you to smooth. There you go. Air fuels. We actually kind of give it to you already. We kind of put a 5 in there from the factory. That's what we recommend. For guys that are just looking for trending, don't want to get too nitty gritty, I'll allow you to go, well, we allow you to go up and smooth this a little bit more to make that line a little nicer. You can see that took kind of the edges out of it.
And that's why you saved it? Can you do just the O2s?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the program will allow you to do any view you want and save it in your config. It'll go over to each additional download. Yes, sir?
On the IP3 dash,
Yeah.
the shift light,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know if there was another option. I think right now we had it ramps up, the lights ramp up, and then they turn on loud.
Okay.
Is there any way we can have that shift light look like a traditional?
Yes, absolutely. That's
Come on, I don't want to
so.
flash at me.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the setting in your channel for your dash. You right-click on it. You're going to get those 4 tabs at the top there. Display pages is where you set up your pages, your warnings, your shift light, and your dash info. So right here, I'm going to click on the shift light tab, and then here's that flash option, the very, very top. If that box is checked, as soon as it reaches its shift RPM that you told it, it's going to sit there and just blink at you. If you want it to be a traditional shift light, uncheck that. So when the shift light parameter is met, this comes on.
Does the lights ramp up though?
No, that is, the ramp up deal is right here under the interval.
Oh, okay.
If you're land speed racing, you're tractor pull, you're road racing, you use the interval because you have less, you have more time as it takes. And the drag racing, it's split seconds like that.
Just zero that out.
There you go.
Okay.
For a drag racer, you set that to 0. As soon as that RPM is met, that's the only time it comes on.
Thank you.
Now, when you make that change, send that back. That's the send button we talked about earlier. Yes?
I know on the UDX, the IP30,
Mm-hmm.
you can use a button and then switch pages.
Yes.
Can you do that with the UDX?
Yes.
Okay.
The back of the dash, we don't provide you the wire for that, so we provide you a pin. It's one of the pins out of the back, same method, a momentary button, and you'll be able to cycle it. If you're in a dragster where you can't reach, that's a perfect example.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, there's a guy behind you, but that's...
The bouncing on the fuel pressure gauge, have you guys come up with anything for that?
Bouncing on a fuel pressure gauge, okay, you have a carburetor?
Yeah.
Okay, that is actually a normal thing that happens in a carburetor. Carburetors will have a fluctuation in it. It's not anything you can do. It's needle and seats opening and closing, and that's just the way it is. You can move the smoothing, but that's not true reading now. That's one of the things I wouldn't have you smooth. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
The O2 sensor between, on the drag race car, between 1,200 or, well, let's say 1,100 feet in the finish line. That's where we want to really take a reading.
Good.
Is there, can we
Yes,
measure that out?
absolutely. That is a very good question. I'm glad you're talking about that. Okay, so let's take this run as an example. We'll go back to 5 here. So we're going to look at the last half of the run here. So let's just say I want to say right after I go in the high gear to when I get out of the throttle, I want to know what the average is. So on your keyboard, you place the cursor where you want to start your average. So right now I'm just going to say I want to start it right here. And I can show you this after the show. There is an open bracket. It looks like a square cut in half. And you're going to see the left side of that open bracket on your keyboard. You're going to click that, and it's going to add this average cursor on the screen right there. I don't know if you can see it too well. Okay. Whoops. Okay, now I'm going to add the closing bracket. Now that is again the symbol with the half bracket. I'm going to hit that. Now you'll notice there's two of the averaging lines on the graph. Anything in that line right now on that graph, it will be average and show you the time. So the average time between that right now is 1.6 seconds if you look in the top right of the graph there. And right now I have engine RPM selected, but if I click this button right here, right in the center here, and whatever is selected in my channel buttons, it will cycle to it. So I want to click that, it's going to go to air fuel. Now it's going to show you the values for the air fuel. If I want to go see the values, the average of the engine RPM, I cycle back to that. But in this case here, we'll look at the air fuel. So in air fuel cylinder 1, my max was 1399. My min was 1277. My average for that time was 13.5. So that's how you do it. It's the open brackets on your keyboard and the closed brackets. You place the cursor you want to start, place the cursor you want at the end.
You only do your averages in high gear? You can't...
Well, in this case here, he was asking me high gear. You can do it for any point on the graph that you choose to.
Okay, can you run through how to zero, or not zero, but pre-air the O2?
Sure. Basically, let me see if I've got a config with air fuels on it real quick.
If you have 8 air fuel.
Okay, are they recently just bought?
No, they've been running.
Okay, do you have the white button on the box?
Sorry?
Do you have the white button on the box? On our air fuel boxes, give me one sec.
It's about 4 years old.
That is 4 years old. You're probably right at the limit where we had it or not had it. There's a white button.
Okay.
You hang all the sensors out of the pipe for a free air calibration and air fuel. Turn it on.
You have to take them out? Okay.
Yes.
If they've been sitting for a month in the pipe?
Got to take them out. Anytime you do a free air calibration, it's mandatory you take them off. It will skew the data if you don't do it. If you have the new box or the single channel, we have a button on there. All you have to do is turn it on, let it warm up for a minute or so, let it all become ready. You'll hold down the white button. With the O2s out. Either the AF1 or these 4-channel boxes will flash a code saying it's ready. You tap it again, and then it'll execute it for each single air fuel, or if you have the multiple air fuel box, it will do it all of them in one shot.
You have to bring each air fuel up and then do each air fuel?
No, this is the manual way of doing it. If you have the older system, but you may potentially have where it does not have a calibrate button on the outside, now you manually do it.
Okay, and how do you do that?
Okay, so let me find one for you that has
How
it.
often do you have to do it? Different altitudes?
Yes, absolutely. So we highly advise, if you run at sea level and you go to Denver, for example, which is a mile high, absolutely, it will skew the number.
When you get to Denver, you do it?
Yes, and when you come back down, anytime you have an elevation change, I always say 3,500. Just to be safe, do it, mandatory. Other than that, depends on runs. Every couple races, do it for accuracy. I have my pro stock guys that will do it every pass. I mean, excuse me, every race, excuse me, my apologies. As soon as they get the car out of the trailer, they're going to free air it, and then they do the race. Next race, do it again. We don't think you have to do it, depends on the number of runs you do it, but that's my pro stock guys. So any of the guys that does not have the calibration button on the unit, hook up your cable from your laptop to the recorder, get in your config file, right click on the air fuel channel. You'll notice on the bottom right, there's a calibrate button right there. Click on that. Obviously, right now I don't have any air fuels connected. So, but down at the status will say connected. And hit the free air calibration button right there. Click on that guy, goes through, says it's calibrated, takes a second.
You don't have to bring up each cylinder?
Yes, absolutely. If you do it connected to the PC, you'll have to go through each and every one.
It doesn't take long.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you calibrate it inside the pipe, it will skew the numbers for you. All right. Yes, sir.
Can you run shock sensors through the Sportsman, or do you need
Yes, you can. The Sportsman, well, the V300 automatically has the high-speed channels built into it. The Sportsman, you have to buy the VNet high-speed module adapter to allow you to run it. It's very, very important. That's a good question. Do not hook up shock travels to the basic VNet. It will not sample fast enough. You have to have, and you can verify this if you don't believe me with your shock guys, at least 200 to 250 samples per second to actually measure drag race shock travels, road race shock travel stuff. Example is to say the car moved 1 inch. We may only record a half an inch because we're not picking it up fast enough on the VNet. If you buy our adapter module that will allow you to sample at that rate of speed, then you're good. Yes, sir.
Same thing for a 933.
Okay, that right now is not available, but it is on the works. So we got one for the Sportsman, and I was told it's on the drawing table to get one for you guys too. So, yes, sir.
Couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any benefit to putting more magnets on your drive shaft?
Oh, definitely. Okay, right now, basic systems have 2 magnets. The Racepak needs 2 pulses to calculate frequency to give you an RPM. Depending on where it starts, where the magnet resides when you launch, it can actually be 1 revolution before I start giving you a signal. So if you give me 8 magnets, I'm only counting a fraction of the turn now to give you RPM. So not only are you going to start the RPM reading quicker in Driveshaft, I'm going to give you more sampling points now to give you better resolution and more detail in the Driveshaft RPM.
Mark Williams has a wheel with 12.
Yes, and we adapt to that.
And you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the Pro Stock guys do it right now using our sensor. Mm-hmm.
Other question.
Yes, sir.
You take your V300 and mount it backwards. How do you change it in there to read the G-meter?
Very good. Okay, so default-wise, the G-meters are calibrated where the SD card is the front of the vehicle. So the vehicle is going this way as defaulted. This gentleman's question was if he turns it around, which a lot of my drag race guys do, where now this is the front of the vehicle, the opposite end, it's going to make it read the G-meter backwards. You can quickly solve that problem by going in here to the setup file, right-clicking on the acceleration G, and flipping it by just putting a negative here. So it thinks the normal operation now is backwards. And that's how you do it. It just flips it, inverts it.
You can do that with Sportsman too.
Absolutely. Sportsman, majority of all of our loggers that have the G-meters built into it, you can easily reorientate it. Excuse me.
What will you see if that is negative, or
Let's see if I can create that for you real quick.
will the G-meter go upside down? Or
Yeah, so it just goes down and set it up. Gives you the right reading, it just reads negative.
I mean, in a normal case, the G-meter is never going to be negative, ever.
Oh, in the normal case, only under decel. You pop a parachute, you're going to go negative. But essentially, when you're staged, it should be 0, the car's not moving. The only time it's going to go positive is obviously when you launch the vehicle. As your rate of acceleration diminishes at the top, you'll find that it's going to obviously get lower. Here, let me show you real quick. So in this instance, real quick, here's the picture of the guys, picture of the run. So this may not be calibrated correctly here. I think it's probably sitting a little down right now. You'll notice it reading -0.3. But as he launches the vehicle, the G-meter is going to go up. As the rate of acceleration diminishes, it's going to try to work its way back down to 0, essentially. And then when it gets out of the throttle, then you're going to go see it read negative. The parachute comes out, it's going to negative G's. Yes, sir?
If you lose a sensor like a fuel sensor,
Mm-hmm.
don't read nothing, is there any way to troubleshoot that between if it's the module or the sensor?
Yes,
or-
yes. If the channel does not show up, say for instance, my fuel pressure channel did not show up in my download, it's most likely going to be in the blue module. So to confirm that, hook up your cable to the unit and hit the read button. If it says I cannot see this previously installed module, you know you may have a problem with the VNet module. If the VNet module channel shows up in the run, but the data, say for oil pressure, reads negative, negative 50 or something, we probably got a problem with the connection or the sensor in itself. So if the channel populates, the module is good, let's look at the cable or sensor. If the module